Hi everyone. I received a question by someone around how can I pass the value of a hidden control in Nintex Workflow Cloud. Now, this requires me to explain a couple of things about how data passes from forms to workflow. So first, let's go and create a Nintex form in Workflow Cloud. So I select the start event as Nintex form and design a form, and let's put an email control on. So we'll call this email, and we'll put a yes, no on. And what we're going to do is conditionally hide this control, hide or show. Let's say hide. Let's just say hide. Okay, so hide. Now, what we'll do is we'll set a rules. We'll say hide email control. If hide is yes, then email visible is no, else email visible is yes. Okay, create rule. Now if I come through to here and I can put in whatever I want and then I hide it and it's disappeared. So the question was if the control's hidden, why is the variable empty? So let's go ahead and publish this workflow and just see how it actually works. So we've got our workflow here and we're just going to say send an email, for instance, and I'm going to send it to gamble@nintex.com. I think everyone knows my email address now. Hello, Ewan, and just say hello. It doesn't really matter what the email is. I just needed an action to show this. We could do an action set is another way of just making a simple, so we can delete this one. Just making an empty workflow just for testing. I sometimes use an action set because it really doesn't matter. All we want to know is what was passed from the form to the workflow. So we'll go ahead and publish that workflow and we're going to run it twice. Testing and empty hidden control. That'll do. Okay. So we are first going to run it, not hiding the control, and see what happens. And then we're going to run it a second time where we do hide the control and see what happens first. And it wants me to log in, so okay. Okay, so there's our simple form. Oops, I have made a boo-boo. Let's just copy that. So we're gonna have two different versions of it. So first one is I'm going to submit it at nintex.com. And once that's submitted, and the second one, I'm going to hide it. But first I want to put some data in. Oh, we're going to put it there. And now I'm going to hide it. So the second one, the first one, we filled out the field and didn't hide it. The second one, we're going to hide it. It still has the data, but we've hidden it. And we press submit. So now that we've got that, we can close the designer and you'll see our workflows in the list here. You can click on the ellipsis and go to instances. From here, it's going to do a filtered query on the workflow that you're working on. And you can see that we've got two started at the same time, so I can't really tell them apart. So the first one first, let's have a look and see what we've got. So SE underscore, so start event underscore form variables. So they're the variables that you've got. And then obviously the user context that we've got as well. So first name, last name, and email. Now what you'll notice here is the SE start event email one, which is the control, is actually null. And the checkbox is yes. So the checkbox is true to be hidden. It's hiding the email control, and the value is null. Now, if we come back to instances and we select the second one, I'm pretty sure we'll see that the SC underscore yes, no, one, or the checkbox was actually false. So hidden is false. So then the value comes through as Gamble at nintex.com. So the reason why we do that is because if someone was filling out a form and they're filling out a bunch of fields and they chose something to hide some of the controls, but the data is still there, we don't want to send that to workflow because it's something the user was expecting not to submit. So we negate that value. We say, well, if you've hidden it, it comes through as null. So the workflow just takes that as an empty control. So otherwise, if we always passed hidden controls with their value, the form designer would have to then say, well, if it's hidden also, remove the value. So it's better that we prefer to say, if it's hidden, never pass the value. Now, the problem then is for this customer where they're saying, well, what if I wanted to pass some data, but I didn't want to show it to the user? So come back to your workflow, open up Nintex Forms, and this is how I would actually either try and capture that if you really wanted to, if you wanted to capture something behind the scenes, but you didn't want to show it to them. It depends. Was it entered by the user? You could do so variables is probably the best option because that will be passed to the user regardless. So it could be something like email, text, and you could say email 1 or something like that. But that's also going to that would actually work. So let's just test that one, form.email. So what I'm doing here is I've come to create a variable. I've created it as text, and variables we don't actually have any because we haven't created yet, but we've got on our form, we've got the hide boolean, we've got the email control. So I'm going to grab the value of the email control, even when it's hidden. So go ahead and create that. And so this is a bit strange because they've chosen to hide that control. They don't want to submit this data, but behind the scenes, you're saying, actually, whatever they've tried to put in there, I still want to capture it. So we've got that variable, and variables always pass to workflow. So go back to Designer, we'll go apply changes, and we'll go ahead and publish our workflow, and we'll go through that test again. So this time we're only going to use the hide checkbox and not do the visible on the email. So we'll do ewangamble@nintex.com. We're going to hide it and then press submit. Now it's been submitted successfully. Close, and we'll come back to our instance. So click on the ellipsis, go to instances, and we'll see another one running through here. There we go, 944. So what you'll now notice is the instance start data now has 3 variables. So first you had the SC_email, which is the control, is null because the checkbox was true, which was hide the email. And when it's hidden, we don't pass the value. But what was happening behind the scenes was your variable, your user variable, which was var email, was actually saying, actually, grab me the value of that control, regardless if it's hidden or not, and passed as a variable. So now we still actually have that value, even if the user chose not to actually submit that value. So I hope you find that useful. That's how I would actually capture things or pass data between Form and Workflow and Nintex Workflow Cloud, even when it's hidden. So hopefully I find that useful. Let me know in the comments. Cheers.